Today on Women in Charge, we welcome Sophia Bekele, CEO and founder of DotConnectAfrica, a non-profit African initiative. Ms. Bekele is a native of Ethiopia, but left her country to settle and pursue higher education in California. With a Master of Business Administration in Management Information Systems, she is now back in Africa and dedicated to serving the continent. So today we are joined by Ms. Sophia Bekele, CEO and co-founder of DotConnectAfrica. Welcome to Women in Charge. And so tell us, who is Sophia Bekele?
Sophia Bekele is the daughter of Ethiopia. I was born and raised in Ethiopia and studied in the United States for my education. I got my BS and MBA in information systems and so forth. And all my development years, I could say, was in Africa, but now with an American educational spirit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I must say, at this moment you are illuminating our screen, and so I was wondering, you are very beautiful, so why not model, or have you modeled, or...
Shame on you.
I'm sure all the men are wondering, so I must...
Thank you for the compliment, I appreciate it. I did modeling, like any young girl, aspiring girl, when I was in America actually, and about 8 years. But unfortunately, I was actually an MBA when I was doing my modeling, so I was sort of like it's a two-pronged. I couldn't get into the modeling so much because I had also had the opportunity to develop myself professionally, and I think I enjoyed that more. But I had a lot of fun for 8 years. I have done work in Paris and in San Francisco a lot. And,
wow.
It's been really fun. Yeah.
So brains and beauty. You're very blessed.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
So tell us about DotConnectAfrica, and is it challenging being the CEO of a company where men might think, what does she know about information technology?
Okay. Well, luckily I was educated in the field, and I've spent a lot of time in US as well as in Africa in the ICT field. So I have my credentials, and not only that, I have my experience and to show for. So somebody has to just look at my background and the work I've done, not only in paper, in actually not only in my credentials, but actually the work I have delivered for Africa, as well as my US experience, to be able to see, and just general global experience. I'm an advisor to the UN many times, and ICT is the field I grew up in. It's like secondary to me. So men for the first time may think that, but once they get to know my work and who I am and my contributions at whatever level, I think they change their mind very quickly, unless they want to remain resistant to it.
Do you feel you've had to work twice as hard to show that you're competent of doing your job?
Absolutely, maybe 3 times in fact. During the early professional years, the same thing. IT is a very male-dominated field, and as everybody wants, engineering is not really associated with women in the past, but nowadays, being in Silicon Valley, that's where you know, my work and all my professional developments happen. So it's very generic to have a woman in the task force, in the workforce, in the boardroom, and so forth. So women are a very big part of the daily ICT workforce. So in that sense, I really didn't feel discriminated upon as a woman. But we're doing work in developing economies, particularly in Africa. I've terribly experienced that. But even nowadays, I'm feeling it's not in the past, because I'm one of those women who just walks into a room or something, just wanting to contribute, and not necessarily to be seen as a woman or black, or you know, I just don't have those prejudices. I just walk in and say, what can I contribute? So from that perspective, my mindset is wired not to take certain level of discrimination of being a woman and not knowing what I'm doing. So I feel blessed about the mindset that I have developed, yeah.
And how about family, like your parents? Were they accepting? I'm sure they're very proud of their daughter not, you know, being in a role that you'd expect other women to follow, or...
Yeah, I would say that, you know, when we went to study higher education in the US, obviously my parents were responsible for sending us out for higher education, and because the ICT field was not really available Ethiopia, where I grew up. This was the most likely field of employment, of future opportunity. And so they were expecting us to excel in the U.S. environment. So being an African parent, obviously they were not, they didn't think we won't do well, or they didn't think that computers was gender specific or something like that. They had no prejudice towards that, I would say. But being in America and trying to struggle with the men workforce initially, but we grew up in California, literally, my formative years of professional development. And California is extremely liberal state, and it accepted, there's no issue with the gender, like in the West Coast and so forth, or certain other countries. So I really believe that, and growing up in a very strong family, where I come from a women-dominated family line. There's only one brother, actually. So in the family. So the women are expected to accomplish a lot. So we really did not grow up with that idea of having women can't accomplish something. We just didn't see ourselves, all the sisters, we didn't see ourselves as women per se. We just saw ourselves, I think, as someone who could contribute and accomplish, and we were very accomplishment-oriented. So we took the higher ground in terms of education and so forth. So, so that's why when you stand with equal footing with men, I just can't expect when they see me as a woman. Very difficult. Very difficult. Until later it bangs on me saying, okay, that's what he meant.
And tell us about DotConnectAfrica. Your objectives.
Africa is an initiative that just came about. Maybe it was initiated 2006 when I was a policy advisor with an ICANN. ICANN is the organization that governs the internet. It's based in California, and there was a 6-year policy development over top-level domain names, like we see the .com, .org, and .net and so forth. These are the popular ones, and many, about 24 of them, were issued, I think, before the 6 years of policy development. And so when I got elected to advise on that, based, of course, on my ICT background, and also I was elected as an African, and sort of to contribute. I was the first woman and also African to be even elected as they introduced me. So I had said, what can I do for Africa if I'm going to wear an African profile here? Because I have worn different profile in different board of directors prior to that. So that's when the top-level domain .Africa came to the plate. And I said, the Asians have done the Asia, and then the EU has done the European Union, and so I said, why not .Africa? And so I pursued it. There were, of course, other Africans ahead of me that were involved in this internet governance world, and so I had gone to them and say, why wasn't this done so far, and why aren't we doing it? So the whole idea was trying to get the consensus of different governments in Africa was required to actually get it approval. And so that's when DotConnectAfrica was the vision that was created to coordinate the whole efforts within Africa, starting from the governments and ministries and then down to civil society, to be able to see what Africa should not be left behind while the others have gotten their identity. So that's the vision of DotConnectAfrica and how it was initiated.
Ms. Bekele travels throughout the various African countries, advocating and speaking on the benefit of adapting to a .Africa top-level domain name for the African continent. She has been invited to speak at various forums and summits internationally to share her company's activities and strategies on such topics as bridging the digital divide.
How about your purpose of your visit here in Senegal, about the ICANN?
ICANN approved the new GTLDs, the top-level domain names, about 3 months ago in July in Singapore. And after the 6-year policy development, I say, to liberalize the top-level domain space so anybody can have a .anything. It's not only .Africa, like Africa 7 could be a .Africa 7, and then you could have, all the other things that you want to do under Africa 7. And so when they liberalized that space back in June, this is ICANN actually goes to different countries around the world every 3 months to do outreach, to create this multi-stakeholder environment that they advocate about a lot, and we DotConnectAfrica is also one of that advocates. So it's just the idea of having all stakeholders within the internet, which includes civil society, businesses, NGOs, governments, all to have a dialogue. So ICANN's role is really every 3 months they go everywhere, and Africa was chosen this time, which we're very supportive, to have this just before the application process in January, where everybody's going to apply for that anything they want. And so we're very ready to apply for DotAfrica, and we're very happy and supportive when ICANN proposed Senegal to be a place to do their outreach this time. So that's why we're here. And before ICANN, actually, usually ICANN prepares sort of it's not even ICANN, but the host countries usually prepare sort of a meeting ahead of ICANN. I have seen it done, like Singapore prepared an IGF, which is Internet Governance meeting, just to do outreach before ICANN and have the local host give the opportunity to integrate it and have a message for ICANN, sort of thing.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about the ICT development in terms of Africa and the ICT education for young women and girls.
ICT development is very timely in Africa right now. Actually, I'm going to start saying Africa is the last frontier where ICT is the only way for it to be empowered. Through education, through all the industries in Africa need to have the ICT-enabled economy, because that's the only way it could leapfrog to the next generation to catch up with the rest of the continent. And I think it's doing an excellent job in that. I will always make a reference to the 2007 ITU meeting that was done in Rwanda, which for the first time collected lots of heads of states in Africa that went and gave a blessing to the broadband initiative. That created the awareness for policymakers in Africa to change and advocate for broadband for their own countries. And it's almost like a competition now, if you see in Africa, that the ministries are all trying to get broadband for their people. And without broadband, I always say compare broadband to water and anything that information and stuff like that, that has to be given by governments to their people. They have to liberalize the space to allow private sectors to actually advance the economy and so forth. And so I think this is very, very good time for Africa to use ICT and embrace ICT. And I know that at the civil society level, at the schooling level, everybody has adopted it, and this is the way to go. And for girls and women, it's an excellent way, because, you know, now there's huge in social media. We use social media in our initiative big time to communicate what we want and our message. And it just gives you an enabling environment for you to voice your opinion. Maybe you're shy as women, you know, we're not, you know, trained to be on the platform. And opportunities have not been created in the past, because, as I said, ICT has been a very male-dominated field. But through the social media, through ICT, women can communicate. They could be bloggers, you know, even behind the scene. And this is the first way for, I think, young girls to get involved in ICT. And
as you were saying, today people are better connected in the world, but do you feel there's anything missing on the part of the government, the citizens, and maybe us, the media, in order to get to where we ought to be, or to do more?
I think so. I think the dialogue is missing. I have to, for example, congratulate the ICANN type of environment where every 3 months they go to different countries, and there's 5 days of policy deliberation trying to bring all the stakeholders together to agree or to debate. So the debate is missing. What I see in Africa, that's what's missing, really. The government is isolated from the people. And the people sometimes have given up in terms of confidence on the governments trying to change their lives and trying to change policy. It takes a long time. So people tend to take shortcuts in trying to achieve their goals, which is not good, which promotes corruption and which promotes, you know, not a legitimate way of doing things. So I think the dialogue is missing. If you ask me about African media, I'm very surprised with Senegal media. because even when I was here for the ministerial conference, we had alternative views on the conference agenda. The media covered that very well, and we were very surprised. In fact, your minister gave us a platform to express our views, and that was very surprising to me because, and when the media interviews us, I even asked the media, are you sure you're going to air this? Are you sure you're going to air this? Because, and they did that same evening. So for me, media has to start doing that, because then after that, even the dialogue was better with the people we were trying to get attention to. So I think the government should promote more democracy of media, more dialogue between civil society, and be more transparent. And that's what's missing in Africa, the transparency of all the stakeholders coming together and fighting and debating and creating the output that everybody, no, we can't please everybody, but an output that actually pleases half the constituency. And that's why we love ICANN and we follow it around, because it's absolute democracy at best when in terms of the debate. So that's what's missing. I have been disappointed sometimes in the African media in how they can cover something promotional, but they don't cover, in fact, issues that affect real Africans, issues that create debates and all that. Really disappointed in that. And the Western media is not like that. So I think it's because of this dependency of funding and with the Western organizations or with the Pan-African organizations, and it's sort of have incestuous relationship that leaves out civil society out on the cold or on the dry to voice their opinion.
So talking about funding, I mean, that's a major challenge as well. Is that a challenge for DotConnectAfrica?
The application process requires $200,000, but the whole experience probably in terms of legal and so forth would cost over $500,000. It's already costed us a lot of money because we've been on the road campaigning all over Africa. So looking at $1 million and more, but this is a cause. This is an African cause. People have seen our work. They've come to support it, and right now I would say we have no financial problems.
Great.
And because we think it's a sustainable project, which is going to generate revenue, it's going to be one of those projects that we look forward to having a sustainable output, and just the goal of having the registrations of the names. I just want to say that, you know, because it's under a non-profit umbrella, we have a trust and a corporate social responsibility where we want to develop women and girls in technology. That's our major program. And
personally speaking, what made you want to go into ICT? You said ICT? You left modeling to go into ICT.
No. I was doing, modeling was just a sidekick. So I did it for fun. Because people say you're tall, you're la la la, you know, why not? And makeup and nice dresses is always nice. But I studied ICT right after leaving Ethiopia. We were dropped in college. So the opportunity was there to actually pursue ICT, because that was the next generation opportunity for employment, and so we all got into it and say, you know, that's how we got into it, and internet, and you know, it's an exciting field. I could never have envisioned a computer field. In fact, if I was probably growing in Ethiopia, I probably would have been married with 5 kids
right now and in the kitchen.
If I had not left for higher education and stuff. Yeah, true enough. Because some of my friends have done that. So probably the ambition is sort of created when you actually transition another continent and you see what other women do, liberated women do, and you start creating your own role models of how you want to be and what life you want to live. So
talking about your friends that are married and you're not, do you feel that you've had to sacrifice some of life's milestones in order to get to where you are today?
Absolutely, because I am career-oriented, for example. The family, when you start every day, you wake up and you're thinking about what you want to do and not necessarily, you know, a family. And that the career drives your vision. then it is very hard. There's no stop and go. It's very hard to even have time to plan family. It's a big responsibility. I don't take it very lightly. Children are very big responsibility. I don't want to bring children in a world where I don't feel like I have time for them. So when you start thinking the responsible path, there's no time for it. But I have no regrets. I love my life. I don't feel like, I may have sacrificed, but we live in a world of democracy now, where everybody's lifestyle is accepted. Family life.
And you are very ambitious and also a writer. And tell us about some of your works and some of the things that you've written.
Well, I write a lot on the issues that matter to me. And in the past, I started writing, I'm a big advocate of transparent processes and stuff like that. And I think I was sort of driven to write when I first came to Africa, when I came back to Africa. And I find a lot of things were not done right or lack legitimacy. And I start writing. And I start writing to the media, and I start writing. It's just like almost like having a blog, where blogs did not even exist 7 years ago. So in that sense, people, I think, called me a writer. She writes. I write about women's issues. When I say I go to a meeting and I observe something, and I would write and give it to the media. And I sort of like want to share my ideas. It's like almost blogging. So I don't have a blog right now because my blog is DotAfrica, because that's sort of pregnant with it. But I am writing a book, in fact, on Africa right now. Right. So all my experiences, collected experience on my travels and what I've done. So I hope to share that with you maybe next time when I come to Senegal. And that's where I would live it. But I love, writing is an exercise for me of, it's like almost going, it relieves tension for me on what I see, on a daily basis. So, yeah. Hopefully I'll have my own blog when I'm through with this project. It's a very, very evolving project, DotConnectAfrica, trying to get everybody to get agreement and create a governance model that makes everyone happy and getting it off the ground. It's a continental project. It's a big one. So I'd like everybody's support.
And we all support you. We're supporting you right now.
Thank you. Yes, you have done so. Senegal is my base for West Africa.
Great. And talking about the things you write about, and you say the things that you've seen on a daily basis, how have your past experiences shaped the person, the woman in charge that you are today?
I've never said I'm the woman in charge. You did. But I tell you, I was just telling a friend over lunch saying, when you don't get what you want in life, that's what's called experience, And it's sort of synonym, I'm a suffered woman, People don't see that in you because you look good and you take care of yourself. Exactly. But inside you have had so many no's, you've had so many challenges in life, and you learn from that, from everything. You learn not to repeat it. Yeah. So lack of getting what I want have shaped the way you've learned from the past, and have shaped the way you start thinking, and you project. You're almost like a fortune teller. You see it coming. That same experience of not the challenge you've had in the past, you see it coming. And so very easily you are able to deal with it so smoothly. It's become so, my gosh, this is what experience is called, and this is what hardship is called. And I've had so many challenges, particularly in trying to get things accomplished in Africa. Really, it's a great continent. It's a fascinating continent, but so many infrastructure, so many things have to put together for us to work and succeed together. And there is a lot to be said about people working together in Africa. We need to come together. We need to have a dialogue. We need to learn it's okay to have difference of opinion. What I face a lot is the pockets of people thinking that there is a peer pressure of following like sort of a cabal. If you follow this cabal, you're absolutely not going to listen to the other person's opinion and so forth. That should stop. We should all believe in democracy, in difference of opinion. Women's voices need to be integrated as part of the forum. I always say, without women staff, sometimes I go to successful companies in Africa and I say, there's no women on your staff. How do you even produce something that's realistic? You don't have people at the board level. You don't have people at marketing level. I mean, marketing, look at it, the West now, even the anchor women have become all women, you know, because women's talent are being appreciated, along with, of course, the softness and just typical the administrative expertise that we all have, you know, women, the organization skills that we bring to the table, along with, you know, the brains. These are things that needs to be appreciated for and worked on in Africa. We need to integrate every woman as sort of a program for every corporate program should include women. Not because we're women, but because we have so much to contribute to the diversity of the output. Any product I see, if there is no woman touch to it, for me, it's not going to be democratic in a sense.
Okay. I agree.
You know, it is. No.
Where do you see yourself 5, 10, 15 years from now? I mean, personally, and with the job that you're doing.
Personally, I cannot tell you. I'm very fluid. Anything can happen, and I'm very flexible. So professionally, I want to get the DotAfrica on the ground. This is very, very important to me. It's an initiative Africa should have, and African governments should bless, and let it go forward. After that, I'll have to come up with another DotAfrica, something for Africa. You know, I want to still work in Africa. I want to be part of the development of Africa. I want to see people empowered, women empowered in Africa. Africa is my passion, really. Yes, I have contributed to the West. I have a lot of peace of mind when I go back to the US. Trust me, I do. I really treasure it when I enter the US. And I want to build what I've seen there, bring it here, and empower people, and, you know, just celebrate every day, celebrate. You know, our coming together, celebrate people. I love people. I like to work with people.
Ms. Sophia Bekele, thank you so much for being our guest on Women in Charge.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Viva Senegal. I love Senegal.
Thank you.